Hi, I'm Nicole Justine Reed and welcome. Today I want to talk a bit about thoughts and how to identify whether the thoughts you're holding are actually supportive or unsupportive for you. So you may have heard this before, that thoughts become things, or our thoughts govern our life. Our thoughts really determine our own experience of life. And I find this to be true. And it's really important then to notice whether you're thinking thoughts that are supportive of where you're wanting to go and what you're wanting to experience in life, or whether they're fighting against you. We've always heard about this self-sabotage thing that we kind of all go through as humans. Fun ride. But it's true. Sometimes we're in our own way. We need to get out of our own way. And one of the ways to do that is to really identify where your thoughts are. And sometimes we don't really know where that is. So let's break it down a bit. So thoughts, like you think a thought, right? Like it kind of comes in. And you're like, oh, okay, you think this thought once. But you think that over and over and over again, it turns into a belief. It really becomes kind of like this true statement, or it's your perception of the truth at that time anyway. And it becomes kind of this operating mantra or focus that you live your life in, whether you know it or not, right? So sometimes it gets sneaky. Sometimes it's conscious, and that's what we want to do, is we want to bring it to the conscious level. So a thought over and over again becomes a belief. Now our beliefs really determine our behavior, right? So if you're going to think maybe positively about yourself, you think, okay, I'm a really confident person, I can do this, then you would behave differently in a presentation at work, for example, than if you thought, oh, like I'm a loser, I can't do this, right? You might shut down, and it might be a whole different experience. And behaviors that we engage in over and over and over again become habits, right? So thoughts over and over again become beliefs. Beliefs govern our behaviors. Our behaviors that we engage in over and over again become habits. And then our habits, right? This is how we live our life. So these become our patterns of life. So we're in these patterns of thoughts, we're in these patterns of behavior, which is really an interchange between beliefs and habits. And so I discovered something kind of, interesting recently. How do you just determine what thoughts are being supportive of you or not, or kind of where are you at with your thoughts? And there's a lot of ways to do this. But one of the easiest, most recognizable ways to do it is to look at your behaviors, to look at your habits. What are you doing in life? Like, how do you behave? Get really, really curious. Like, in this situation, how do I behave? What are the habits and routines that I built in my life? Like when this happens, I do this. That's an automatic response, right? That's coming from some deep belief. That's coming from a habit that's ingrained, right? And just get curious about it, right? This is not about judgment, unless you're in the habit of judging yourself, which a lot of us are. So watch for that, right? Because that's an overlay on everything. We can talk about that another time. And so get curious about your habits. What are the things that you do? Like, how do you start your mornings? How do you end your days? How do you interact with certain kinds of people or in certain situations, right? So this is going to bring these patterns to the surface. And then get curious, like what's the thought underneath that? What are the beliefs that I'm holding? And one of the quickest ways to find out whether it's going to be supportive or unsupportive is really about how you feel about the habit, right? So when you're engaged in a certain behavior, are you feeling good about it or not so good? Right? Where are you on the vibration scale? Where are you on the emotion scale? So if you're interacting in someone in a certain way and it feels clean and clear and lifting and light and it's just like this amazing feeling, and you like feeling that way, chances are you're having a supportive thought pattern. You're having a supportive belief that is helping you to engage in that behavior. And if you're not feeling so great about it, or if there's conflict, right? So is it clean? Or is there conflict? The conflict stuff is the juicy stuff. This is where you get to really look in like, oh, I kind of feel this way, but I also feel this way. And like, I don't know how I feel. And it's like all jumbled inside, right? And if you're feeling some level of confusion inside, chances are you have maybe conflicting beliefs, right? And that's where it gets really interesting, because it's kind of like pressing the gas and the brake at the same time. And you're like, do I go this way? Do I go this way? Like, what's happening here? And so a huge root of a lot of our thoughts are whether we are good or whether we are bad, whether we are enough or whether we don't measure up. And you may hold both, right? And then it may show up as conflict in these certain situations. And just notice that, right? So look at some of the behaviors that you're engaged in. See how you feel about it. Look at the ones that you do regularly, right? So it's like, maybe you brush your teeth regularly. How do you feel about it? Do you feel really good about it? Well, then maybe you have like a really supportive belief, like I take care of myself and it's all good, right? Or are you brushing your teeth and like you're kind of stressed about it? Well, maybe you have a supportive belief that, hey, it is really good to take care of myself, but man, I gotta get to work, right? And I'm like rushing, I never have enough time. Whoop, there's a thought, not enough time, right? And you're gonna feel that in your body. It's gonna come up as like total stress, probably, at least that does for me. So notice that, right? So there's gonna be a lot of overlays around here. So I'm excited to see what you guys come up with. Please leave some comments below. You know, what have you noticed about this? What are some of the habits that you've been paying attention to? Just pay attention, like set aside like a week, you know, and you can do this obviously for longer. I mean, make it a lifelong practice. But just for this week, just get really curious about how you're behaving in your life and what are the underlying beliefs that are driving this behavior, and see what you come up with. And just kind of notice, because bringing it to awareness, bringing it out of the dark and into the light already begins a shift. Now you're no longer operating from an unconscious place. You're bringing it to a place of consciousness, which is where you actually have choice and where you can really find your real freedom. So as you're discovering this, I encourage you to please write in the comments below what you're finding. I'm kind of excited to discover this with you. If you really found this video to be valuable, please share it with people who you think would benefit from it, because I think it's really important for all of us to be paying attention to our habits and our thought patterns, because we affect each other with them, for sure. Like, it's a huge thing in relationships, huge, and our own experiences of life. And if you want to hear more, please subscribe to my channel, and have a wonderful day.